Today I fucked up by failing dirty talk in bed. Obligatory. This fuck up happened a few months ago. Me and my GF were having sex and one of her fetishes is that she likes being dirty talked to. And so when I was going to pound town with her I said, "You like that?" I was this close to saying "you fucking retard," but I foolishly thought I wouldn't make a fuck up like that. And so she said, "Yeah, I love it baby, keep going." Then I said, "You're such a good girl, aren't you?" She replied, "Yes, I am a good girl, fuck me good please." Then I replied, "Yeah baby, you're a really good girl." At this point the phrase good girl reminds me of my dog, and so instead of saying "I'm gonna treat you so well," I messed up and said, "Yeah, you're such a good girl, aren't you? I'm gonna give you treats." Yep, I fucked up and we just laughed the entire time. Doggy style will never be the same. Too long didn't read. I treated my GF like a dog. Should have gone full alpha and stuck your nose in her butt. Good sex is the kind you can have a laugh when you're doing it. Emo. If sex didn't stop entirely after that, I'd say it wasn't too bad of a fuck up lol. My girl and I were going at it like banshees and at one point she jumps on top. I look up at her and say, "Hey cowgirl," and she heard "Hey cow." Man, we laughed. She stops, sweaty and hair everywhere, and says, "Lol, what did you say, hey cow?" Sounds silly but man, it was so funny. I was having sex with a guy over the holidays and mid-dirty talk he says, "I'm going to give you a white Christmas." Didn't hate it. This was all part of the plan. Next you incorporate the leash. That's honestly so cute that I wouldn't even call that a fuck up. Today I fucked up by telling my daughter what sexual means. My 6-year-old daughter is a curious and spunky one. Very outspoken, high energy and adorably happy. This morning while driving her to school, she asks what the word sexual means. Now, she's not the type of kid you can put off. She will continue to ask the same question literally every minute until you give her the answer. So anytime something comes up that is perhaps a few years too mature for her, I try to simplify without corrupting her mind. So in this case I just said it's a word that means things you do with your private parts, and she just replied, "Oh," and when I asked where she heard that word she just said, "I don't know, around." Okay, now the results of the fuck up. I get home from work and my wife tells me that the teacher called her aside when she'd picked our daughter up. Apparently our information sponge thought a proper use for the word sexual was going to the bathroom. My daughter literally asked the teacher, "Can I go to the bathroom and do something sexual?" And some kids laughed and the teacher was obviously taken aback but didn't want to ask her what she was talking about. Thanks to my daughter's brilliant dad, she thought sexual just meant things you did with your private parts, like pee. So my wife was obviously perturbed and asked why she said that, and guess what? My daughter instantly threw me under the bus and said I told her that sexual means private parts and she needed to pee, which she does with her privates. For WTF, you little literal offspring creature. How? Okay, I see how it is. Edit. Apparently spunky means of an ejaculatory nature in the UK. I'm going to go do something spunky now. Too long didn't read. Told daughter that sexual means private parts and she thought that applied to going pee and said it aloud to her class. From one parent to another, we've all been there, having our child say/repeat something misconstrued. And on the flip side, as a teacher, especially with elementary age kids, we hear a lot of, shall we say, interesting stuff. One of my, not English speaking, children around that age asked me what motherfucker means. It's a very rude word that people use to describe someone who they think is very bad. It's a strong insult. Like jerk, replace with a mild insult from your own language, but 100 times worse. Children should not use this word. My 9-year-old son gets sent home with spelling homework, wherein he has to spell a given word then put it in a sentence. I was checking his work before school and was happy to see he had no issues with the word sadly but had used it in the following sentence. Mummy walked away sadly because daddy was shouting at her. For the record, I never shout at my wife, but the little bugger threw me under the bus with that one. Lord knows what his teachers must think. My daughter did a similar thing at preschool. They were having a mum's day and each kid had to paint a picture of their mum and the teachers captioned them with what the kid said their mum did while they were at preschool. Every kid said something like mum does the food shopping or mum feeds the horses. My daughter though? Mum goes back to bed. When I was that age I asked my dad what adultery was. Grew up religious and heavily steeped in purity culture. He fumbled a bit and exhausted by my questioning just told me it's when you do adult things. Like use bad words? Yes. So the next week my dad met up with another dad from church. I heard him use the word stupid or crap or something, a bad word in our house. So I proceeded to interrupt his convo, out in public, to loudly and proudly declare that he had committed adultery. No, he has. He had no idea where this was coming from and I did nothing to explain it, so I just repeated it multiple times. I shortly after found out what it actually meant and never forgot accusing my dad of adultery in front of his friends. The Bible is honestly the worst for coming across adult stuff. I remember asking my mum what a prostitute was and she was like, "Where did you hear about that?" It was in my children's Bible. Her ultimate response was, "I'll tell you when you're older," which honestly always worked on me. I was pretty docile. At least the teacher didn't ask her who she learned the word from. Today I fucked up by hiding from plumbers. This did, in fact, happen today. I live in an apartment complex and for the past couple of days we have had plumbers come to each apartment to replace radiator valves. No big deal, right? Except that it is. I have crippling social anxiety and having strangers walk around my apartment making small talk is my worst nightmare. I have a friend who lives 2 stories above me. Yesterday she messaged me to tell me when the plumbers came to her apartment. They spent about 20 minutes in each one, so after 40 minutes I went out before they came. They had keys to each place so I didn't have to be home, and walked around the neighborhood for an hour just to make sure I wouldn't have to talk to them. I came home. They were gone, things were great. Until today. I'm unemployed and school only starts in a couple weeks so I sleep until noon or even later. I live with my parents but they are on vacation so I'm home alone. I woke up the sound of the apartment door opening and a guy yelling, "Plumbers here, anybody home?" I freaked out. I didn't know they were coming again. I hadn't prepared myself. I had no way of getting out. Now, if I was a normal person I would have greeted the plumbers, apologized for not opening the door for them, explained I was asleep, fucking talked to them. But I'm not normal and I panicked because social interaction is terrifying, so I hid under my bed. Yeah, I know I have issues and my therapist will hear all about it next week. They go around the apartment, room by room. There's 2 of them. One comes into my room and another goes in the guest room which is right next to mine. The one in my room makes a comment about how messy the room is. They laugh and get to work. The guy kneels down next to the radiator which is next to my bed. Realize I fucked up. He sees me. We make eye contact for a few seconds. I have never seen a man look so confused in my life. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he says good morning. I stutter something about how I can't sleep in the sunlight and it's nice and cool and dark under the bed. The guy just nods, probably thinking I'm insane. I crawl out from under the bed and just walk out of the room without saying anything more. The other guy in the guest room sees me walk past and gives me the most puzzled look. I go to the bathroom, lock the door and sit there for 15 minutes until I hear the plumbers leave. The one who found me knocks on the bathroom door and says have a nice day. They leave the apartment and just as they are closing the front door I can hear the guest room guy go, "Hey, where the fuck did she come from?" and the other one burst out laughing. I just know that every single person they work with has heard of me by now. What the hell is wrong with me and why am I even alive anymore? Too long didn't read. Plumbers came to my apartment. I hid under my bed to avoid talking to them and one of them found me. While I'm sure that they had a good laugh about the unexpected person hiding under the bed, I'm equally sure that they don't actually care. Your anxiety is probably based on fears of being judged, so this may have a huge impact. The reality is that they are not likely judging you, but instead are just surprised that you hid like that. They probably came up with a bunch of theories as to why you were hiding, but they'll see something else out of the ordinary soon enough that this will be forgotten. Keep in mind that most of us judge ourselves much harsher than others judge us. Most of our fears are based on our own inner demons rather than external events. I hope this doesn't impact you too much and rather becomes a funny story that you tell others. I'm a plumber and I hate having to talk to customers, so glad I work with other people cause they can do all the talking while I just do what I have to do. So we're not all wanting to talk, smiley face. This is brilliant. I'm a tradesman and I've encountered this so many times. It's way more normal than you'd think. And the story gets old very quickly, you'll be forgotten about after 2 days. All you did was hide, and I've seen that at least 15 times in the past 9 years. You're alright, you're really alright. That was oddly wholesome as a person that's never experienced that specific branch of anxiety. I hope it doesn't torture you at night or give you nightmares. Oh, and at least you don't sleep naked like we Nordics. That'd be a whole other level of embarrassing. And I guess you've learned that under the bed is not a good hiding place in the event of a break-in. So now you can plan ahead. I sleep naked and I'm deaf. Awful combination when I did rent a townhouse and had to worry about these type of workers. We are soul sisters. Last week I heard the HVAC guy coming in, so I ran to the bathroom, turned on the shower and just sat on the toilet waiting for him to leave. At least showering is a bit more socially acceptable than hiding under a bed. Think I'll do that next time.